Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of You're Not Seeing All of My Face. There we go. So, look at that. Look how the beard does that. Anyway, so I know the state theist, the fake atheist, are not going to respond in any sort of positive way to this. But if there are some real atheists out there, and people who have studied history, I am looking for a book, or maybe 2 or 3 books. I really don't want to have to get a whole lot, on 2 subjects. One, the mass suicide of cults. Now, the worst mass cult suicide,
Blah, 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 blah.
was a political suicide by communists in was it Jonestown? Of course, we don't want to admit that now, do we? We want to make everybody think it was a religious suicide when it wasn't.
Communists committed suicide.
Yeah. And all his Jim Jones, all his assets he wanted to be given to the Communist Party and to communist governments. So anyway, so I'm looking for a history of mass cult suicides. I'm not interested in ones that never happened. I'm not interested in ones that, like let's look at, for example, Waco. That was not a mass cult suicide. That was a government murdering a bunch of people. So I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in it could have been a mass suicide with this group or that group or another group. I'm only interested in ones that actually happened. The second subject that I'm interested in is, end of the world, apocalypse kind of stuff. For eternity, people have said that this is the end of the world, and they've had all sorts of reasons for it. And I'm interested in learning, or I'm interested in a history of that, and the reasons various people have given, and not just from one group or another, but from as many different groups as possible. Because, look, Christians, Jews, and various pagan groups have all said this is the end. This is the end, my friend. And so I'm not looking to attack any group. So please don't think that's what I'm doing. I'm a long way from that. I'm simply looking for a history of groups that have claimed that this or that is the apocalypse, and why they believed it, and what happened after the fact. Seventh-day Adventists believed that the world was going to end, and there's a, what is it called, Shepherd's Chapel, I think they're out of Arkansas. They've said it at various times that the world's going to end, but other groups have said it as well. And I'm interested in a history of end of the world beliefs, as well as mass cult suicides. And when I say mass cult suicides, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 people killing themselves. I'm talking large numbers of people. Smaller groups of people killing themselves, as a side note, as a footnote, yeah, but that's not the main point here. So anyway, and I'm going to say this one last thing to a friend of mine, because I was saying I'm going to try and send this book to a guy that I write to on death row. There's the first poem in here. For those who don't know this book, like I can see much right now, but this guy was a Roman, and he wrote this while he was waiting to be executed. And I don't know if I can see enough to tell you of course I can't tell you the title from the contents page because it's too small, but the first poem in here, it's very moving. Book 1, Poem 1. I can't read that without glasses. So, but and like my friend was saying, usually it's religious people that reach out to the condemned prisoners. But look, I could have been there. Okay, who's to say I would not have gone down that path? Who's to say? None of you know what it was like for me growing up. I was around people that went to these institutions as an alternative to juvenile hall, and some of these kids, they were being sent not to simply juvenile hall, but to juvenile prison. Some of these were bad kids. I could have gone down that path. And then there's the fact that in Texas, as well as other places, but Texas in particular, they kill innocent prisoners, people who did not commit the crimes. There are numerous cases like that in Texas. They just did not commit the crimes, and sometimes it's known beforehand, and they still kill them. Could you imagine yourself in that person's shoes? Imagine. How would you feel? Do you know what Texas death row is like? Not all death rows are the same. Texas death row, you're in a cell by yourself. You don't get to touch the grass. You don't really get to see the sky. Okay? You don't get to smell fresh air. You don't get the physical touch of another human being, of a handshake, of a hug. When you have visitation, you're behind a partition. A partition, you're talking on a phone. You're in a little cage. There's a metal door behind you. Okay? And some of these people spend 10, 15, 20 years living in this little itty-bitty cell. Imagine yourself like that. The food is rotten, it's cold, there's not much of it. There are prisoners that somehow get fat while they're in prison, and they use that as their excuse. Well, you can't execute me because I'm too fat.
They must eat a lot of junk food somehow.
Yeah, I mean, unless they're getting food from the commissary or whatever, because I guarantee you the prisons don't feed people very well, and the food is trash. Just imagine yourself in their shoes. Because remember, innocent people get sent to death row, and some of them are killed. I have a heart. I care about people. It's as simple as that. I care about people. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, that wasn't even the point of this video. My point is, my question is, I'm looking for a history of mass cult suicides. And remember, the largest cult suicide was a political suicide, not religious. And I'm also looking for a history of end of the world prophecies. The world's still here. Thank you. Bye-bye.